Welcome to the Blood Angels Commander channel.
Good evening. What's happening, guys? Hello. Everyone hear me okay? Have you guys checked out these new rules? Because I think they sound very, very positive for the what the future of 10th edition might be for Blood Angels. How is everybody? We're just going to go over them. I'm going to speak about a few different things that I have noticed, and then I guess we'll just talk about everything. And maybe what we can talk about is some of the hopes for Blood Angels as well. Pana starting the stream off with €5 super chat. Thank you. Good evening. Good evening. How is everybody? We're going to get to Bobby G in a minute, Burgosaurus. Calm yourself down. I'm so happy because I thought that I was going to have to retire my Roboute Dreadnought. It sounds like there's a good chance Roboute is going to be playing. So, this article appeared today on Warhammer Community, and we've been hopeful for 9th edition, right? But this article, I think, cemented it. Excuse me.
Panayotis L donated €5 via Super Chat, just for support of the channel.
Thank you so much for the support, Pana. As always, we're also going to be live tomorrow night. I'm going to be running a Dante list against the Demons of Chaos. So we've got that going on probably about 7:30 tomorrow. So about an hour, quarter earlier than this live stream. And then on Thursday night, I actually have a podcast episode. We're live on the podcast on Thursday as well for an episode about Warhammer Fest and everything that released from there. But anyway, let's focus on this new Space Marine chapter article that just came out today, and they shall know no fear. I'm just going to read the article. If you haven't read it, or if you have read it, that's fine, but maybe we'll learn something new, because there's a few things that I've been thinking about that maybe you didn't catch on the first look. So Space Marines are the undisputed poster boys of 40k. They're the mightiest warriors humanity can offer, further augmented by ancient gene siege to forge perfect soldiers clad in formidable armor. The result is the Space Marine chapters, each an elite cadre of the toughest, fastest, and most ruthless warriors in the galaxy. So basically, they said this is going to be an 100% unbiased faction spotlight, and they picked a picture of a lot of Ultramarines, a few Iron Hands, and a few Blood Angels. So basically, they said Space Marines have always been the toughest warriors. We weren't toughest in 9th, so are we going to be one of the toughest again? And they once again live up to legend on the tabletop. Many units, such as Terminators, which we know went from toughness 4 to toughness 5, Centurions, and those wearing Gravis armor, now have higher toughness. So my first reading of that sentence tells me Centurions and Gravis are going to be T6, right? Such as Terminators, Centurions, and those wearing Gravis have higher toughness. So Gravis is Inceptors, Eradicators, Heavy Intercessors, and Aggressors. Potentially going to be toughness 6. We don't know, but that's the way I'm reading that. While the game-wide reduction in armor penetration makes power armor feel as tough as it should be. So this is good, I guess. Like, if Terminators are up to toughness 5, and Centurions, which are slow, and Gravis are slow, are toughness 6, then that's going to be great. I'm feeling fine. I just have a bit of a cough, and I've got far too much phlegm at the moment. Right. So toughness 6 is going to make Centurions and Gravis so much more viable, if that is the case, right? Adrian coming in with 5 gifted subs. Thank you, Adrian. Good. Has the new task force been announced? That's what we're covering right now, Campbell. We're going to talk about it, and there's a few things that maybe people missed. And that was one of the things that I thought maybe people missed, because I missed this on my first read. I read that Terminators have higher toughness, but reading it again makes me think Gravis and Centurions. We haven't seen those stats yet, but potentially they're going to be higher toughness. Gravis should be the same toughness 5. Who knows? Who knows? I think this article is basically confirming Gravis and Centurions are toughness 6. The they're the chunkiest armor. It would make sense that they're more toughness. I'm going to be fighting some Nurgle tomorrow night, Miles. So yes. Hello from Ukraine. It would be great for you if you could make a guide for beginners in 10th. Yes, I'll be making videos on everything in 10th Night Call. You can guarantee it'll be coming. Yeah, so there will be guides on how to start with Blood Angels, how to play everything in 10th edition. I promise you, there will be less hours in the day than I can make videos. I'll be making tons of videos. Alright, here comes all the gifted subs. Thank you so much. Welcome back to being a member again, Burgosaurus. I'm glad that Adrian can sort that out for you, cheap son of a gun. Just messing. Alright, so we know rerolls to hit and wound are much rarer now. However, Space Marines have access to their entire... reflect their elite status chiefly through the Oath of Moment faction ability. So Oath of Moment is an ability you get if you pick the Gladius Task Force. I'm surprised, I guess they just linked this to another article. This article talked about Oath of Moment gives you full hits to rerolls and wounds to one specific enemy, right? So at the start of your command phase, select one enemy, you're getting full hits to rerolls and wounds against that enemy. And I believe they maybe said somewhere else that... oh no, sorry, Oath of Moment is the Space Marine thing, so you get that. So I think you get that in any detachment, right? The next thing is faction rules, and this is what they talked about the Gladius detachment. So Space Marines are organized into chapters, and they're self-sufficient. The standard doctrine of Codex Astartes emphasised flexibility, and it is exemplified by the Gladius Task Force. Now, when they previously mentioned this, they said Ultramarines are typically Gladius Task Force, but they said anyone could be Gladius Task Force. And then the very next sentence it says, battle-tested formation is available to every Space Marine chapter. They do have a star here that said, and if you scroll to the bottom, that like Blood Angels and Space Wolves and Dark Angels are going to get their own unique detachment rules, right? But I think the fact that they've said everybody here means that if you want to be Gladius Task Force, you can be. Doesn't matter if you're Blood Angels, you can still be Blood Angels. You're just running a Gladius Task Force. Some people have said there might be some restrictions on the units you can take within a Gladius Task Force, but we don't know that yet either. But if you're a Gladius Task Force, then you get combat doctrines. And doctrines have changed in that you just pick one of them in a command phase, and that's the doctrine that is active, and you can only select each doctrine once per battle. However, what's interesting here is Devastator Doctrine means you can advance and shoot. So I guess you could put that up turn one. You could advance all your Land Raiders, whatever. You can still shoot all their guns. They're las cannons. They're Godhammer las cannons, which we're going to get to in a minute. Tactical Doctrine says we are eligible to shoot and declare a charge in a turn which we fell back. So it's very, very good if you've got some units that are going to be tied up in combat. You want to fall back, shoot, and then maybe recharge. Brilliant. And then finally, Assault Doctrine is now declare a charge in a turn which the model advanced. Something that we've been wanting forever as Blood Angels. So I think now, if you want to do a Gladius Task Force Blood Angels, you should be able to do that, and you should be able to advance in a charge. Sorry, advance and charge in the same turn. And that's not just a single unit, that's your whole army. So obviously if we did that, we'd probably lose, we would lose 100%. We wouldn't have Red Thirst, for example. We wouldn't have any Blood Angel specific rules, but these doctrines sound kind of awesome. And my thought when I was reading this was I want the default Space Marine detachment to feel awesome. Because if the default detachment is awesome, then it's a fallback, right? In that, let's say the Blood Angels detachment isn't as strong as we might want. Maybe there's a counter to it in the meta. We know already we're going to have to wait a year for a codex. So if all those things come up, right, our detachment is very good. It's getting countered by a lot of things. We have to wait a year for a meta or a codex. Doesn't matter. We can just fall back and play Gladius and be pretty dope. And that's where I think Gladius is. That's where I think it lands at the moment. So all three of these sound infinitely better than the doctrines we had before. And each of this combat doctrines only works once per battle. Yep, I said that. Okay. then there's just some bump here, right? So if you're a Gladius Task Force, we also know one of the stratagems that the Gladius Task Force get, because we covered that before, and one of their stratagems is for 1 CP, they can do Armor of Contempt. So Armor of Contempt is the same as it was in, I guess, like pre-Arcs of Omen. So basically you worsen the attack by AP1. So for 1 CP, you can worsen the enemy's attack into any unit of yours for 1 CP. So that's pretty useful as well. That's another thing that would stack on top of this. And I am going to specifically cover the new Dreadnought today, because it's not on this article. But we can talk about the new Dreadnought here, where the new Dreadnought is toughness 10 and a 2-up save. So if we think about a toughness 10 Dreadnought with a 2-up save that for 1 CP can ignore 1 AP, that makes it pretty impervious against small arms fire, right? Like they could shoot it with all their small arms fire and they chip off like 1 or 2 wounds. That's it. All right. So Doctrines sound great. Oath of Moment ability is good. Terminators and Centurions have more toughness, potentially. We already know Terminators have more toughness. Mass Prophet coming in with $10 super chat. Thank you, Mass. I have a hard time believing that they're going that you will be able to make Blood Angel's detachment better, but I'm super stoked. Yeah, maybe you're not going to be able to make it better, but you're maybe able to different, right? And in a meta that's always shifting, maybe this is the difference that you need, right? We've got if you think about 9th edition, and I think that's the problem that I've been trying to say in 9th edition, there's no flexibility, right? For example, like, now we potentially have flexibility where, like, if a Blood Angel is attacked, because they already said that. They already said, like, if your Marines are painted as Blood Angels, you don't have to run them as Blood Angels anymore. They said that, whereas before there wasn't.
Mass Prophet donated $9.99 via Super Chat. I have a hard time believing they will be able to make the Blood Angels detachment better, but I'm super stoked for it. Now Dante just need an axe that does morals or ignores invuls.
Well, based on what we've seen in Guilliman, Dante's profile is going to totally change, because we're going to get to Guilliman in a second. And I think Guilliman is better. I was really worried that Guilliman was going to be locked to Ultramarines. I've been saying that for a while. His rules are from like 8th edition. There's a good chance that when his new rules come out, he's not going to be such a generic commander, as in like his aura that affects Imperium is going to be gone. I think Guilliman might even be better. And again, there's a couple of things you might have missed, so I'm going to cover those, right? Let's talk about this next bit. What can be said about Land Raiders? So they're finally going to give us a Land Raider profile. The Venerable Transport is to regular tanks what Space Marine is to regular humans. It's huge, impregnable, it's a demigod, it protects the passengers just as well as it fights back, firing heavy weapons, heavier troops. The assault ramp is back, dropping cargoes of Terminators, Aggressors, or I guess Centurions. What's interesting though is they did say that Centurions take up the space of 3, Gravis only take up the space of 2 inside the Land Raider. But what's important to know is Blade Guard, and this is what I wanted to know, Blade Guard are going to take up the space of 1. They are just infantry. They're not jump pack, they're not woven, they're not Gravis, they're not Terminators, they're not Centurions. So 12 Blade Guard vets in a Land Raider. With the assault ramp. So each time a unit disembarks from this model, after it's made a normal move, that unit is eligible to declare a charge. So if you did take Gladius, right? Like, let's say we've picked Gladius Task Force. Turn 1, we move our Land Raider forward 10 inches. Then we advance it, because we've picked Devastator Doctrine, so we advance it a d6. Then we shoot all our weapons, because Devastator Doctrine lets us shoot all our weapons after advancing, which is much better, I guess. So we're already somewhere like 13 or 14 inch forward in turn 1. They then have to kill our 16 wound, 2 up, toughness 12 Land Raider. If they don't kill it, remember we can Armor of Contempt this for 1 CP. It also is the smoke down here is a keyword, so I assume we can smoke screen it. So I assume we can make it -1 to hit. We can also give it ignore 1 AP. And also it's toughness 12, so Melt is only wounding it on 5s. So assuming that they cannot take 11 wounds off of it, leaving it on they leave it on 6 wounds, this then moves forward 10 inches and we get to disembark. Basically, you could have 2 5-man squads of Blade Guard veterans, each with a lieutenant, because they showed that would give them like, I think it's called lethal hits or something. Or if this was a Crusader, and I'm just going to base my thoughts on the fact that the Land Raider is capacity 12, The Repulsor's capacity 12, that hasn't changed. If we think about Land Raider Crusader, the Crusader is the one that carries more infantry. It could take 16. So potentially you could have like 3 5-man squads of Blade Guard veterans inside a Land Raider that's 23 inches forward in turn 2, most of the time reliably. Yes, it might cost you a couple of CP to smokescreen it and -1 to hit it, but if you can smokescreen it and -1 to hit it, and tell me that I can have 15 Blade Guard veterans in the enemy's deployment zone, able to charge just about anything in turn 2, that sounds insane. That'll be insane for the Blood Angels detachment. Maybe just if you won't be able to do the advance because you won't have Devastator Doctrine. Anyway, let's talk about this Land Raider, right? If it does blow up, it's going to do D6 mortals within, I think Deadly Demise is, I can't remember, it's 3 or 6 inches. So it's going to do a lot of mortals if it does blow up as well. But what's interesting is they've given it a special las cannon. It's called the God Hammer las cannon, and it's got 2 of these. So it's going to get 4 las cannon shots, strength 12 -3 D6 +1. It gets this 1 hunter killer if you take it. It can have a multi-melta. Again, noticeably, multi-meltas have also lost range. Multi-meltas are now 18 down from 24. The reason I think they've changed all these melta ranges is so you can no longer drop pod multi-melta guys, or you can no longer strategically reserve multi-melta guys and get the half range extra bonus damage, right? Because if it's 18 then half is 9, you can never land within 9, which means, for example, Iron Hands dropping in those multi-meltas 9 inches away to get the +2 damage, they can't do it anymore, right? So I think I'm happy with meltas being shorter range. In some ways, it actually makes like big things like Land Raiders even stronger, right? Because like the enemy need to be basically right next to them to be able to shoot them. And I mean, if you've got Eradicators and stuff like that, you don't really want to be putting them only 18 inches away from the enemy. That puts them in like a pretty vulnerable place, especially if we talk about charges. You know, if we've got jump pack units that move 12 and then charge. Anyway, the Land Raider is a lot better in melee combat as well, right? Its weapon skill has now become a 4-up, so it's got 6 attacks at strength 8, so it can do some stuff in melee. It's got twin-linked heavy bolter with sustained hits. I mean, I guess that's fine. The God Hammer las cannon, and yeah, the fact it takes 12. So I really think that we're going to get 16 still in the Crusader. I'd be very surprised if the Crusader isn't 16, but even at 12, I think 2 5-man squads of Blade Guard with a lieutenant in each squad, I think it's going to be great. 18 inches also puts them really close to charge range as well, Mass Effect mentions. Yes, 100%. So the profile of the Land Raider overall, I think it's exactly what we expected, right? 10-inch move, toughness 12, kept the 2-up save, so arguably a little bit more survivable than the Repulsor. The Repulsor's on the 3-up save, the same 12 toughness, OC 5, and the Assault Ram. So everything about this is good. I think you're definitely going to want to run Land Raiders. But they're saying that the back of the cards, you'll find things like unit composition, war gear options, and transport capacity. So these cards are double-sided. So most of these cards that we've seen so far, we've only seen one side. Now we're seeing the back side of the cards. Few units in the Space Marine roster are as big as powerful as the Land Raider, but the Primarch of Ultramarines certainly fits this category. So Roboute Guilliman, or Roboute Guilliman, however you want to say it, is a deadly commander, and he's Lord Commander of the Imperium. He's a strategic genius. Blah 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 blah. What's different with Roboute? So honestly, I wasn't sure what was going to be different, but let me just tell you what I think is huge for Roboute. So he's gone from toughness 6 to toughness 9. That's pretty darn good. So if you think he used to get wounded on like 3s from pretty much strength 7 weaponry, now he's wounding like Melter, only wounding him on 4s. He's also gone up a wound. He's up to 10 wounds. He obviously has objective control 4, which is pretty great. I think it's the most I've seen on a single character so far. So no longer can he be obsec'd away. I mean, even 2 infantrymen are not obsecing an objective from him. His gun has got 6 inches of additional range now and 1 extra point of AP. That's the only changes. It means his rapid fire is more deadly. It means his shots are more deadly. He used to have AP -2 when he was in the Tactical Doctrine, but now he just has it forever. His sword has become his sweep attack, essentially. So his sword used to be the same 7 attacks. It used to be 3 damage, but 6s did some mortals. It's now become a sweep, and it's a pretty deadly sweep. 14 attacks at strength 8 minus 3, 2 damage each. That is killing a boatload of Marines. And it's got devastating wounds, which means 6s do indeed still do mortal wounds. And my thought was this, with like 14 attacks, hitting on 2s, if you're hitting something like with toughness 7 or less, right? So you're wounding on 3s, 6s, or mortals. You could potentially do a lot of mortal wounds and make them do a lot of saves against the sword. The sword, to me, maybe seems better than the Hand of Dominion. The hand is good. Still 2 up. It's minus 4, it's 4 damage, but I think with that number of attacks, you're going to end up getting 3 or 4 6s. So it's always going to do like 3 or 4 mortals, and it's going to make them take like 10 saves at minus 3. The sword is going to do damage. And if you ever team it up with that Oath of Moment ability, then reroll full rerolls to hit and full rerolls to wound. Why do 6s? Oh, 6s do 2 mortal wounds. Yes, you're right, Atlas. You're right indeed. Yeah. So you're probably going to do 6 to 8 mortal wounds. So against like big nasty demons or whatever you're fighting, big nasties, you might end up just being as reliable. Like if they have a really good invulnerable save, for example, like let's say they got a 4-up invuln, and your AP is going to be lost from the Hand of Dominion, then you might be better off just going, fuck it, use the sword. You're going to do a bunch of mortal wounds. Let's talk about what he gives here. And what's important to know is none of his abilities mention Ultramarines specifically. And that was the most important thing for me, and that's the thing that's got me most excited. All his abilities just say Adeptus Astartes Infantry, meaning that he can buff anybody. So in your command phase, select 1 Author of the Codex ability, so it's one of these 3 abilities. Until the start of your next command phase, this model has that ability, right? So basically, every turn, from my understanding, you can do one of these 3 things. So one of these 3 things is, the first one is, pick a Adeptus Astartes unit within 6, give it +1 to its objective control characteristic, so it's kind of like a mini Rites of War, and you can reroll Battle Shock and Leadership tests for that unit. So basically, one unit becomes almost like immune to leadership and gets double objective control. But what's important is that you could give that to anything. You could give that to the fucking Land Raider. So you've got an objective control 10 Land Raider. Cool. All right. That's strong. Really strong. Again, it doesn't say anything about it has to be Ultramarines. The second one, Master of the Battle. After you've selected an enemy unit using the Oath of Moment ability, select a second enemy unit. Until the start of your next command phase, if the first unit selected has been destroyed, then each time a friendly Adeptus Astartes model makes an attack against the second unit, you can reroll hits and wounds. So in this case, if you have a big target that you need to kill and you're throwing a lot of stuff at, that you've selected for your Oath of Moment to get full hits and rerolls to wound, if you overkill that, you put enough into that, then the next unit in the chain, and usually that's how it works, right? Like you're fighting against Angron and let's say Karn the Betrayer. You know you need to kill Angron first, so you select him first. Then you select another one, like Karn. Soon as Angron dies, the full hits to rerolls and wounds suddenly moves to Karn. That sounds amazing, right? Really think that's going to be strong, especially when they've said rerolls to hits and wounds are down. Supreme Strategist. This one is possibly the best one. Once per turn, you can select one Adeptus Astartes unit within 12 inches of this model with a stratagem for 0 CP. So you can use any of your strats for 0 CP. Now, bear in mind, we've got some strats that cost 2 CP, etc. And you can do so even if another unit from your army has already been targeted with that stratagem this phase. And for me, the one that this is just what we've seen. There's probably a lot more to see as well, guys. The one that we saw, the one that they showed us today is only in death does duty end, right? So in the fight phase, just after the enemy unit has selected its target, select one Adeptus Astartes unit from your army, and you can fight at the end of the phase even if the models are destroyed. Standard fight on death, for 1 unit, costing 2 CP. However, Guilliman can give that to another unit for 0 CP as long as it's within 12 inches. So if you're in a game that's hairy and you get charged by 2 units and they're both fighting first because they both charged you, well, both your Space Marine units are going to get to fight on death. And I have been the biggest complainer about fight on death because I think it's a really silly rule that kind of breaks some of the strategicness of the game. Because it's just like, oh, well, you killed me, but I'll just get to kill your whole unit in return anyway. And now we've got 2 ways of using it, and one of the ways we could use it costs 0 CP. So as much as I have complained about this, this to me sounds bonkers. Like, absolute bonkers. Like, after reading this, I'm like, okay, Space Marines, we are a force to be reckoned with. We also have, while this unit is within 3 inches of 1 or more Adeptus Astartes infantry units, this model has the lone operative ability, so potentially he can be bodyguarded. All those rule interactions are a little bit hazy for me right now because I haven't actually got the book in front of me, but it's going to be cool. And then Guilliman's revive has got like 1,000,000 times better. So it used to be before on a 4-up he would revive with D6 wounds. Now he's reviving on a 3-up with 6 wounds. So that's guaranteed coming back on 6 wounds, and a 3-up feels to me way more reliable than a 4-up. Yes, he lost 1 point of his invulnerable save, but I think what he got vastly outweighs that, right? Like, I think this is just way better. The additional toughness and the additional wound, I think, is going to make up for any loss of invulnerable save. And remember, we do have the Armor of Contempt strat, so we could potentially make him on a, ignore AP1. So if he's getting targeted by low AP weapons, one of the best ways to kill Guilliman in the current edition is to hit him with tons of low AP stuff, because it doesn't, he's on a 2-up save or a 3-up save, it doesn't really matter. So you hit him with loads of low AP stuff. So this way is actually, I think he's better. I honestly think he's better. Toughness 9 seems huge. Yeah, Toughness 9 with the Melta nerf in range is actually kind of huge. His gun is better. All his abilities are better. I think the only question we have is he's got the keyword Ultramarines. So I don't know what that's going to do in terms of limiting your detachment. But it does seem that all his other abilities seem very generic, like he can join other Adeptus Astartes and be very effective with them. Overall, reading this, I feel like it's kind of huge. So they then went on to show some weapon spotlights. They showed the heavy onslaught cannon, which is basically the same. No, it's not the same, sorry. 24-inch range. It's got 4 extra hits, but it has lost... No, this is the heavy onslaught cannon. No, it's got the same number of hits. Sorry, it's the smaller one that had 8. So it's got the same number of hits. It's doing mortal wounds on 6s now. So heavy onslaught cannon is fine. Not much changed, I think. Losing 1 AP but doing mortals on 6s is probably kind of counters each other out. The heavy laser destroyer on the the repulsor executioner is interesting. It makes me wonder if the heavy laser destroyers on, the Vindicator laser destroyer or the Gladiator lancer are going to have the same profile. I guess what they've shown though, in the fact that, like, for example, the Land Raider has a las cannon called the Godhammer las cannon. The Ballistus Dread has a las cannon called the Ballistus las cannon. It feels like they're quite happy to just put a keyword in front of these weapons now and make them a little bit different. Guilliman looks so usable. I think he's better than he is right now, honestly. I speculate you will not be able to bring a unit unless all of its faction keywords match your warlords. Hard to say, Pedro. Until we know that, we really won't know. But regardless, if that is the case, it seems a little bit strange that why would they not match some of these keywords? Like, why would, if you can only bring Ultramarines, then why not break Ultramarines into all these other keywords here, right? So I don't know how that's going to work. Remember as well, though, Marines only have 2 Primarchs. And there's about, I don't know how many chapters there is. There's like 50 chapters. So I think, based on what we've seen in Arcs of Omen, they want to open that up. If you want to take a Primarch, you can, right? We don't know exactly what the Warlord thing is yet, because they haven't really said exactly. But there's nothing on his card at the moment that says he has to be Warlord, but we haven't seen the flip side of the card, right? And they did say, like, on the back of the card, there's some more rules. These are the rules that were on the back of the Land Raiders card. Okay. Yeah, so the Heavy Laser Destroyer is now D6 plus 4. I think it's D3 plus 3 currently, right? I think it's 2 shots, BS 3 plus. I don't think it's strength 16 at the moment. It could be. But D6 plus 4 on the Heavy Laser Destroyer is an increase. I'm less excited about that. I don't know many Blood Angels players that run Repulsor Executioners. I don't own an Executioner. I was going to say, I think even with this, I think you're probably still going to want Land Raiders for the improved transport capacity, because the Land Raiders are going to be hella good ablative wounds for well, everything can go inside Land Raiders now. Jump units, Gravis units, Blade Guard veterans, everything can go inside. So I think ablative wounds from the Land Raider. Repulsor's pretty good as well, ablative wounds wise. It's still going to be toughness 12. It's still going to be 16 wounds, right? They showed the fight on death strat, and I think the thing that I am most excited about is if generic Space Marines get fight on death, surely to God, Blood Angels get fight on death. If not, it's proof that they hate us. I don't know why we would not get fight on death if generic Marines get fight on death, considering we have Death Company, considering we have like the most deadly things. Does anyone think we want get fight on death based on the fact that Gladius Task Force get fight on death? My hope is that we get a fight on death for 1 CP. Like, why not? We're better at fighting than generic Space Marines. We're definitely better at fighting than Ultramarines. We should get fight on death for 1 CP. And maybe Dante can get the same rule. So, but I think the thing, we were worried that Dante's rules in 9th edition were a bit shit. Guilliman's rules have completely changed, right? Like, one of his attacks became a sweep. He never had a sweep before. All his other abilities are like completely different. So his profile got buffed pretty significantly as well. You know, you got more toughness, you got more wounds. His revival got better. Yeah, I mean, I think we can probably assume the rules that we have from Dante are nowhere near what his 10th edition rules are going to be. I think we can cross our fingers on that. This has got me more excited. I was pretty excited about 10th, but this has got me more excited. They said there's a new book called Leviathan coming out. I guess you can definitely check that out, pick it up. And that was kind of the gist of it, was that we saw Land Raiders, they look awesome. We saw Doctrines, they look awesome. We saw Guilliman, he looks really awesome. Fight on Death, also very, very useful. And it was a huge bugbear of mine that everybody else, it felt like, was getting Fight on Deaths, but Marines were left out. I guess the only other thing they really said is to be aware of that Blood Angels will be getting their own unique detachment rules when the 10th edition launches. So we won't have, although there is a codex coming out for like Dark Angels, we will get a detachment we can use for Blood Angels. It will have rules, but if we want to field the Gladius detachment, we can do that. It says that every Space Marine chapter, where did it say that? It was where it said double, there was a double star. It said, I can't see it now, I'm blind. It said every Space Marine chapter this battle-tested formation is available with every Space Marine chapter, and then the last takeaway I've got here is Centurions and Gravis are now potentially toughness 6. What does lethal hits do again? I think it's 6 is auto wound, if I remember correctly. We really need to see like a sheet. And I assume there'll be a sheet in the rulebook where it's like lethal wounds, devastating wounds. There were some other ones, sustained hits, twin linked. Yeah. Okay. Alright, I can answer questions for a couple of minutes, and then I need to log on and finish watching Arsenal beat Chelsea. It was 3-0 at half-time. Oh, don't be scoring Chelsea and making me shit my pants again. Anyway. You can use this attachment without special units of Blood Angels. Where did they say that specifically, Alunda? Gladius is the only detachment on release, so we have to use that for now. I don't think Gladius is only one on release. I think they're doing what they've said here, which is Gladius. You'll get Space Wolves, Blood Angels, and Dark Angels. I think they're all getting a default detachment. The reason I think they're all getting a default detachment is they showed the cards, right? There's been so many posts these last couple of days because of Warhammer Fest. But they showed the cards for... I'm never going to find it now, am I? It was in the reveal stream that I covered on Saturday morning. Was it this one? See all the reveals? Leviathan book and cards, is it? Does anyone know where the article is where they showed all the cards? Because there was a picture where they just showed like all the different chapters cards. I'm sure it was in the live stream now. Maybe here it is. Is it? No. I can't find it now. They showed that there will be data cards for all factions. Yeah, and I think within the data cards we're getting each. I think if you're getting data cards, then you're getting a detachment, right? If you're right in that there's no Blood Angels detachment as yet, then I guess we're playing with Gladius. But Gladius looks good. Like everything that they've shown this looks good. By Leviathan and Guilliman is Prophet. By Leviathan and Guilliman. I'm not sure I've been working on a video about how well I rate the Leviathan box set. And I think it's okay, but I don't think it's amazing. I think there's a sort of couple of hits in that box and a couple of misses, right? It was only on the live stream. Cool. Yeah, they showed a picture on the live stream. I guess if you haven't watched it, I did a video covering the live stream. You could go watch that. And it showed... I feel like it was near the end of the live stream, right? Maybe I'll just try and find it real quick. Live. It was this one. Let me mute this. Here you go. I found it in like 2 seconds flat. So I thought everything on this, like Space Marines, Blood Angels, Black Templars, I thought everybody here was getting a detachment. You think they're just getting data cards, data sheets? Hard to say, right? We need a Grots video so Tony can explain how the Thunderhawk will work in 10th. There's a Grots video coming. We're going to be live on Thursday night on the Grots. Okay, that's all I wanted to cover tonight. The Gladius detachment. Yeah, so going to be live tomorrow for a battle report, playing Demons of Chaos. I'm going to have to find something to proxy as Dante because my Dante still hasn't come. God damn it! I assumed that these cards were going because remember when they were talking and they said like every detachment is going to be like 2 rolls. two pages. They always said like all your rules are going to be in 2 pages. I assumed that you were going to get 2 cards in here. Like I assumed these were bigger cards. They must be pretty big cards actually, though. Like if the cards have like, if this is what a data card looks like, it's going to have to be quite big, right? Like it can't be. It's going to have to be like A5 maybe. Like if you think how much space this takes up on an A4 page, if you assume my monitor is an A4 page of paper, then they're going to have to be like A3. So I assume, no, not A3, sorry, A5, like half a page of A4. So I was assuming that we were going to get a couple of data cards for Blood Angels within this thing. That's like Savage Echoes or I forget the hell it's called, Red Thirst. Like I assumed they were getting that. Should use Classic Dante one ride for the old man. The thing is, if I use Classic Dante, can I use his new rules? Can I put him on a bigger blue tack him to a 50mm base? Alright, I gotta find a 50mm base when I log off here. Any other key questions? Anyone want a question before I head off? The rules take up 2 pages. Yes, so I assumed that you, within these data cards, I thought half the reason you were buying these data cards was to get your 2 pages of rules. Like, isn't that the whole point of it? Like, because they were saying, like, you wouldn't have to wait for your codex and stuff, right? That's my understanding of it. Maybe I'm wrong. I mean, I've already made some wild assumptions here that aggressors are going to be toughness 6 and centurions are going to be toughness 6. And that we're going to be able to fight on death with 2 units in the same turn, one of them for free using Guilliman. My thought is that if any of your keywords match, it's going to be good. I think you're going to be able to run Guilliman with any Adeptus Astartes list. I guess we're going to find out. Maybe Ultramarines, that's what it is. Maybe Ultramarines means there's a special Ultramarines attachment and he can only be in that, like, maybe he gets some abilities if he's in those attachments. But I really think they're trying to push, like, you know, a Primarch can join any Adeptus Astartes and that is valid. I don't necessarily think it has to be. Who knows? I guess that's what we'll cover. As soon as we know, I'll be back for a live stream or something to talk about it. Thanks, guys, for jumping on quick. Just an impromptu visit tonight. There will be a live battle report tomorrow. Grot stream on Thursday night. New tactics videos coming on Friday as normal. An Ultramarine Seal maybe get an additional ability. Yeah, who knows? But it does feel like they've written this where everything says Adeptus Astartes. To me, if it was just Ultramarines, they would have just written Ultramarines. Like, why would they give us false hope? Why would they say everything works with Adeptus Astartes units and then say, oh well, you can't run them with all these Adeptus Astartes? It makes no sense. Did Arsenal score again? Tell me they did. Tell me they did. Alright, I'm going to go watch the last 10 minutes of the Arsenal game, probably watch us lose this. But hey, we might be top of the league, we'll see. Primarch should be able to join any Marines. That's what we're hoping for. That's really what we're hoping. So, have a great night, guys. Thanks for tuning in. Leave me a comment or anything, or come over onto the Discord. We've been chatting all day about it on the members only room. So come chat about it. Tell me what you think. I think this is the most excited I've been for 10th edition. I mean, I've been pretty excited overall, but I think this is the most excited. Alright. Have a good night. Thanks so much for watching. I'll catch you next time. I'll catch you tomorrow night. Come watch our live battle report. We're going to kick Colin's demon's ass tomorrow. He's got a Bloodthirster and he's got a Greater Demon of Nurgle. A Greater Unclean one. And knowing Colin, he's probably got some janky thing to try and counter Blood Angels, because that's what he always does. Like last time, he just did a giant death ball with what was it? The guy that makes you fight last. They also, I heard a rumor this weekend that they said that fight last is pretty much gone from the game, which is great. I'm so happy if fight last is gone from the game. I don't think it's a good mechanic. I was kind of hoping fight on death would be gone, but if Space Marines can fight on death twice per battle round, then maybe I guess that's okay. All right, I'll catch you guys tomorrow night. Thanks so much for watching, guys. Have a good evening. Peace.